The PIH vision of Patients First starts with good customer service. In this short module, we're going to cover the relationship between customer service and patient satisfaction, talk a little bit about what satisfaction looks like to the patient, and then review our customer satisfaction checklist and look at how all of that ties together with some of the regulations and communication efforts that we spoke about earlier. With the patient satisfaction reports that we get back, we talk a lot about that, but is that really the same thing as good customer service? And in truth, they're not the same, but they are related. And truly, without good customer service, you're never going to get good patient satisfaction. If you walk into the room always looking like Grumpy Cat, you're never going to get good patient satisfaction. As part of the Food and Nutrition Services Department, we of course pride ourselves on the good food that we can provide to our patients. But when it comes down to it, what is it that the patients really remember? Do they remember the food? Do they remember the quesadilla that they ate? Do they remember the meatloaf? Or do they remember the person who helped them with the menu? Now think about that for a second. What do you think? Do they remember the quality and the taste of their food? Or do they remember the people who provided them with care? Think about it. The answer is the patients remember the people a lot more than they remember the food. And this was shown very clearly in a study that was done by Gallup, the same people who do the studies on the television, like who watches the most television shows. The Gallup organization do polls on a lot of different things, and they studied hospital patients and what were the standards that patients were looking for when they were looking at quality and satisfaction. And it really comes down to people and relationships. Those are the things that matter the most to our patients. Let's look at this from another perspective. A lot of the times that the patient satisfaction surveys, when they're sent out to patients, it's not necessarily the patients who are going to be filling them out. It's going to be family members. Now, sometimes it's because the patient didn't go home. Sometimes it's because the patient is still ill and recovering, and they're not really keen on filling out a survey. But when you look at what it is that the families are going to say on those surveys, since it often is them who are filling it out, do you think that they are going to rate us high on the quality and the taste of the food? Or are they going to rate us by the people who cared for their family member? What is it that they are going to remember? Well, when you look at it that way, typically when the family members are in the room, they're not tasting the food. They might be looking at their family member not eating the food, and we know a lot of times that's because the patient's sick. But they are looking at the interaction between the patient and their caregivers. They're listening to their family member talk about the experiences that they had. They are asking them how was their day, how were things that happened during that day, and they're keeping track of that in their mind. And when they're filling out the survey later, they're going to be thinking about how was their family member cared for a lot more than they're thinking about whether their mom or dad liked the meatloaf. So when we're looking at what it is that's going to really positively affect patient satisfaction, it again comes down to the relationship that we can build with our patients. The patient satisfaction scores that we are graded upon have very little to do with the relationships that we build with our patients. Rather, they are based solely in the type of food service that we provide to the patient. So the three main categories that we are graded on are accuracy, quality, and temperature. Now, the temperature of the food is not something that we can change that much because nursing is responsible for passing the trays. So we really don't take any dings on that measure. But the other two, accuracy and quality, are our measures. Now, of those two, which one do you think is the highest? Think about that for just a second. Well, the answer to that is quality. Actually, the patients find our food very good. The one thing that we're missing out on is accuracy, and in fact that score has been dropping tremendously, which is why we look very closely at late trays and the menu selections and so forth, because we know that we do have some work to do in that area. But really, if we were looking at how to raise our patient satisfaction, is it just about what's on that patient tray, or is it also about the relationship that we can have with our patients? So just as a thought, when we are looking at the service that we give to our patients, is it just about the accuracy of their trays, or is it about the customer service that we provide? Now, I'm not saying that I know the answer to this necessarily, but it's something to think about. Do we have opportunities to build on our customer service? And maybe that would translate to better scores in other areas. According to the research, that's exactly what would happen. But we don't really know that until we try. In order to help us be more consistent in our customer service, the checklist that previously existed has been revised, and now it's 10 clear items that fit on one page that each of us can carry around as we do our day-to-day to remind us of the things that we should be doing for our patients in order to meet their needs for customer service. Now, hopefully these will translate to better patient satisfaction, but even if they don't, we know that we will be taking care of our patients better if we are able to meet these standards. Now, of course, on this slide, this is very small, but on the next step in this module, you'll be able to print out a page for yourself, and this is something that you'll be able to carry around with you. Just for fun, in the next part of this module, you'll be able to see some people in action using the customer service checklist.